Phantasm. Maximum terror.
That's your target audience, baby!
Phantasm.
And you know something? I sort of enjoyed it.
Phantasm.
Sell the metal! Sell the metal! Sell the metal! Sell the metal!
Phantasm.
This is Dr. Vincent West, Medical Doctor, FANTASM Podcast. I'm searching through the internet 6 months ago. I find this band, Them. They're fucking really, really cool, and I'm a big King Diamond fan, Merciful Fate fan, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. And now I'm getting to interview the vocalist today, so we're talking. This is so fucking cool. Troy, thank you for doing this. And
Yeah, no problem.
you guys have a new record out called Fierce City. But before we get into Fierce City, tell me how Them became kind of what you were alluding to a minute ago. You know, how did this become a band?
So let me just state for the record, before I even dive into that, in no way have we ever done anything to disrespect any other band, or we're not trying to copy any other band. We're not trying to rip off any other bands, because we've actually been, told, not told, but like people that just look on the surface and really without really diving deeper into what we're about, they'll say like, oh, we might be a King Diamond clone, or even lately now people are referring us to as a ghost clone, which is completely absurd.
Jesus Christ, I never got that.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that momentarily. So I just want to say, like, back in 2008, okay?
Yeah.
I was in a cover band, and we just played all different types of covers, heavy metal covers, rock covers, and even played a few originals. A local band that used to play on the Long Island area in the music scene.
Nice.
And one day I came in and I heard one of the guitar players warming up before we did a rehearsal. He was playing a King Diamond song. Actually, I remember the song. It was The Invisible Guests.
Nice.
And I was blown away that he knew it, and he was a walking jukebox. He said, I don't only know that song, I know the whole album. And I said, that would be great if we could just do one song from King, or because we were a cover band. And he said, I will do it. The other guy said, no, we're not interested. I don't know why, but they didn't want to do it. So I told this guitar player, his name is Rob Cesarsky, or his name is Rob Cesarsky, still friends with him to this day. I said, Rob, let's just put together one show, maybe 2 or 3 tops, and do like a King Diamond tribute next year. How about that? And he said, sure. And this was actually 2007.
Okay.
So 2008 rolls around. I said, okay, it's time. Let's do this. So he said, okay. So we started putting the other band members together. And at that time, the rest of the band was members that I used to play with in my high school era, not even high school era, like 18 to 23, which was a band called Cold Steel. And they were a speed metal thrash metal band. And we made a little chip into the underground. We actually, our tapes are being traded even today. It's funny. But some of the members of Cold Steel were part of this tribute. And unfortunately, this guy, Rob, he couldn't continue with this tribute. So we wound up getting someone else. And it was literally 3/5 of Cold Steel. And we're playing a King Diamond tribute. And we named it Them, the King Diamond Tribute. And Them is my favorite King Diamond album. That's hence the name Them.
It's amazing.
And King Diamond solo album, I should say. And we turned around and we did we did 3 shows. I mean, it was just a ridiculous experience. We had Mike Weed from King Diamond play some songs with us.
Yeah, I read that. That's crazy.
It was insane. So then we sat down after the 3 shows and we said, hey, look, let's continue further. What do you think? Yeah, sure. So we played another 2.5 years. At the tail end of the total of 3.5 years, we've done countless shows throughout New York, Long Island, New Jersey. We even went as far as Michigan and Ohio. And we played numerous shows. Finally, just for shits and giggles, I decided to reach out to the bass player of King Diamond at the time, Hal Patino. And I told him what we were doing, and we had a problem with a bass player at the time. He bailed. He was also Cold Steel, Greg Hawk. And Hal Patino said, I asked him, hey, look, why don't you come over and play some shows with us? He said, sure. So he literally came over, Hal Patino at the time from King Diamond, and how many years he's been with King Diamond. King was on a hiatus at that time. He had numerous surgeries and he had, back issues and whatnot. So Hal came and he lived with me for two weeks, and we played 4 shows. And it was another experience because I would actually see him lay out outfits, which he actually didn't wear, but he brought them, that I saw him wear when he was, performing with King back at some of the larger venues in New York City back in the day. And I was blown away. And I was a fanboy, just experiencing the moment. But Hal and I have become friends over this situation. And I would even go food shopping with him. And over the course of 2 weeks, it was an experience for him as well. So we played these 4 shows. And then I said to these guys, I said, listen, we have a new bass player. We actually did get a new bass player at the time. And I said, listen, I really want to do original. I have the original bug. All right, it's fun playing covers and whatnot. And
sure, of course.
We nailed it. We nailed the King Diamond stuff. We nailed it dead on. I said, look, there's 3/5 of Cold Steel. We've written like 30-something songs. We had demos. We had an album.
Right.
Back in the day, the early '90s. We could do this. Let's do something where I could utilize this other style of singing. All right, because that's not how I normally sing. The falsetto stuff, I don't normally sing like that. I said, let's do something that's heavier, that's maybe thrashier, but utilize different styles of singing and incorporating some of the falsetto stuff in it as well. And they were like, they were more into like the whole weekend warrior type of thing. And that's cool because, like we all have our day jobs and we all have to pay our bills, but they decided they really weren't into it so much. Well, at that same time, I had a Cold Steel EP that was recorded and resurrected the notion that I could put Cold Steel to sleep the way I wanted to,
right?
Because of the whole history of that, which I won't go into in this segment. So while I was finished with the recording, I had interest from 2 record companies, smaller record companies. One was in Germany, and the other one was in California.
Okay. And
the one from Germany, that ran it was called Battle Cry Records. They wanted to re-release Cold Steel's 1992 debut release called Freak Boy.
Nice.
Remaster it, re-release it. So I worked out a deal with them to do this. And so that got me back in the studio. I actually recorded over material that I didn't see for almost 30 years. It was pretty amazing. And I re-recorded something and, made some changes and whatnot. And it was remastered, released. And this guy, his name is Andy Pressig. And Andy picked up the phone. He happened to be on Long Island. And he called me up and he says, hey, Troy, listen, I'd like to meet with you for dinner and just to BS and talk. I said, sure. I've never met him. So I went to go meet him at an Outback Steakhouse in Lindenhurst, Long Island. Okay. And when I met him, he had about 6 other people with him. I didn't know who any of them were. They were all German. And apparently they had just come up, the people that were with him were part of a band called Landfear. Okay, and Landfear, I heard of the band.
I know who they are.
Their music, and what was that?
I know who they are.
You do?
Yeah, they're like
okay,
a power metal band. Yeah.
Power metal, prog metal.
Yeah.
They were German.
I know exactly who they are.
Yep. So they played they had the Prog Fest, and when they played the Prog Fest, they came up north. Some of the band members with Andy.
Holy shit! Not to cut you, I saw them. That was at Prog Power, wasn't it?
Prog Power, yeah. No,
I saw that. I don't know what year that was, but I know I saw them.
If you saw Landfear there, right after that, that's when the them that we're talking about formed.
I didn't mean to cut you, but goddamn, that's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? So they just finished that awesome show. They come up there. The guitar player of Landfear, his name is Marcus Ulrich.
Yes.
Or we also refer to him as Ule. Ule was sitting across from me at this table and their drummer, Jen. Jen was sitting to my right, and Ule was sitting in front of me, and the other guys were around. And Andy was to my left. And I had an iPad with me, and I wanted to show Andy from Battle Cry Records some of the ideas for this Cold Steel EP that was coming out called America Idol. And I'm showing him, I'm flipping through, pages, and he goes, whoa, hold on, go back to that. What was that? And I didn't actually intend to show him, but it was like a logo. It was the them logo. And I had it designed back then. So this was like 2000, 12?
Nice.
Like 2011, 2012.
Right.
That I had this logo. And it was created by Travis Smith, an artist that also created artwork for Flotsam, for King, and many other heavy metal bands.
Nice.
That was a remarkable experience, just having him design this logo that cost $50. It was amazing. Anyway, so Andy looks at this logo and he says, "Wow, that's a cool logo. What is this?" And I said, "It's my idea of an original band that stemmed from the King Diamond tribute." And I explained everything to him. I showed him a sample artwork of what ideas I had for my face, what ideas I had for the artwork of the cover, and he said to me, "You have to do this as soon as possible. This will be pretty popular if you did something like this and it did it well. It would be really popular." I said, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So I kept in touch with Ule, Marcus Ulrich, and I remember through Facebook Messenger, and I remember telling him, I said, "I can't believe it. These guys won't do this them project." We became friends, and he says, "Oh, I'll do it with you." And I said, "You will?" He said, "Yeah." Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, well, you know what? It could be just a project over the course of time. Within like a month, maybe between a month and 2 months, he handed me a full record, and that was them's first album called Sweet Hollow. I couldn't believe he just handed me a whole album, literally the whole entire album he wrote. So, blown away, I jumped right into it. I was excited. It was a catalyst. It just jacked me up, and we did this whole album, but now we needed other musicians. So I started going through my Rolodex. I actually had the drummer from Suffocation, the band Suffocation, staying with me as he would prepare to go on tour with Suffo. Because Suffocation, I'm friends with a number of them, and we lived fairly close.
I'm friends with them as well.
Suffocation was that?
I'm very good friends with Terrence, Derek.
Yeah, Pops.
And
Pops and Derek.
And then here's the weird one. Not to cut in with you, this is just so cool how much we have in common. I'm so glad we did this interview. I love Terrence. They've been kind of a. I hated I didn't get to see them last time, but Frank, we've had on a bunch, and then Terrence, and then the weird one is their original drummer became a really good friend of mine.
Wow.
So, and then, he's not in the band anymore, but, and we still correspond, and what I need to have him back on sometime. But, dude, it's such a small world sometimes when you start connecting dots. But I didn't mean to cut you off just the second you said that.
No, that's okay.
They're my favorite death metal band, so that's like,
Oh, they're the pioneers. They're just one of the best, if not the best.
Oh, I think so.
Also, they're fantastic. And I'm saying that, I mean, death metal really isn't my cup of tea, but I appreciate their art. And the drummer who was staying with me was Kevin Talley.
Oh, nice, man. Nice.
Wasn't he on Pinnacles of Bedlam? I think he was on Pinnacle of Bedlam.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, Kevin was staying at my house. You know, we became buds, and I would play him Sweet Hollow, parts of it, you know, as we were working on it. He said, "This is really good. That guitar player is really good. You have a drummer?" I said, "No." He said, "I'll do it." I said, "Okay." And
That's fucking awesome.
He brought in our other guitar player, Marcus Johansson, who he played with on one of Marcus's projects. It was called Silencer. And Marcus is still in the band to this day. Kevin was tied up with Suffo. We also had Mike LaPond on our first 2 albums.
Oh, wow.
And Mike LaPond loved playing, recording with us. But he, too, was tied up between Symphony X and Ross the Boss. So as we go on, and ironically enough, our current drummer is from Ross the Boss, too.
Really?
So
that's awesome.
All these guys, we all sleep in each other's beds, you know, it's just funny. So anyway, once we did the full album, we got an offer to do a tour as a direct slot for Halloween across the United States and parts of Canada. And we did it, and it was a success. And so at that time, that's when we got approached by SPV Steamhammer, and we signed the deal, and we fulfilled that deal with the last 2 albums, Man of the Seven Gables, which was album number 2, and Return to Hemsmore, which was album number 3. And they asked us to do another album, so we did another album, hence Fear City. Now, the one thing that you may not know, that a lot of people don't know, that some people started to get after the 3rd album was released, and it was very interesting. It took 3 for people to really, connect the dots. But this, thematically, this is a single tale that spans across whatever albums we release. So, and they're sequential. So Sweet Hollow directly ties into Manor. Manor directly ties into Return to Hemsmore. Return to Hemsmore directly ties into Fear City. And the thing is, there are aspects of some albums that, or thematically, that might reappear in future albums. You see what I'm saying? So
it's amazing.
It's a very conducive story, and thematically, it's a journey. If you really think about it, when you listen, you read all the lyrics, and you understand the full context of the story, it's really the pain and suffering that this man, Klaus Koenig, or KK Fossor, endures through his life, and what he does to circumvent it and or embrace it. And that's really the brunt of the whole story. And there's a lot of things that happen, from the beginning to now. But the big difference from the last 3 records to this album is a different time period. And in order to transition to another time period without skipping a beat within the story, KK had died the last record.
Okay.
He was sucked into the ground. And I'm not going to go into the whole story, but he was sucked into the ground. He was dead. He had an assistant named Remsen. And Remsen helped him throughout the 3 albums. And you didn't really know who Remsen was until, by name, you didn't know who he was until the beginning of album number 2, Man of the Seven Gables. Now, Remsen is a very Igor-like character. This was in the 1800s that the story took place. And then KK dies. Okay. Now, Remsen, who's a very, very loyal, and he's a devout assistant, he turns around and he's like, I'm lost. My master's dead. He's gone. We released a song back in December called Encore. And Encore, there's little traces of what could happen, what might happen. And in that song, KK's spirit speaks to Remsen, telling him he must not forget his bloodline, that he has seed to sow. The continuation of his bloodline is essential to their future. And basically nobody really truly understood what that meant, because when 100 years later there's a toxic chemical spill that occurs right outside the town of Hemsmore. That is where KK died, and it resurrects him. And he comes back to life. He looks slightly different. He's a little different, and he's in a different time period, right? Where there's all this technological advancements, and he's overwhelmed. But he now knows he's still in sync with what his plan was when he had died, which was to destroy his nemesis, a guy named Peter Thompson, who originally killed his family back at the Hemsmore witch trials on album number 1. So he now knows, he realizes he's in a different time period, and he must sever the bloodline or destroy the lineage of Peter Thompson, because they're evil, and he's determined to complete the task at hand. Now, if he has to do it, he needs his assistant, so he seeks out the great-great-grandson of Remsen, who is now Ronaldo. And Ronaldo, he explains, Ronaldo, I now need to find, I must find Thompson's, Thompson's, what do you call it, great-grandson, or, his descendant, and destroy him. And he says, I know someone who can help us. So he takes him to Valerie, who's a prostitute. Now, Thompson, in this story in Fear City, he's a minister. His facade is a minister. He's a minister. He's a televangelist. But in reality, at the very, very end, it's unveiled that he's the kingpin. He's the underground crime lord of New York City.
Oh, wow.
And he's, he has, and kind of like the album ends like on a cliffhanger. So if there was, and each album that we do is left on a cliffhanger. Why? Because A, if there is no album after that, that is the end of the line. B, if there is an album, I can continue the story very easily. So that's the gist of thematically how everything, interconnects with one another, if that makes any sense.
Do you write all of this stuff? Because it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I write all the lyrics. I write the theme, the concept, the logo design. I was directly involved with my facial prosthetic, and he has KK has an inverted cross burned into his face. And a lot of people might look at that at first glance, and the band members have the same inverted cross on the breast of their shirts, and there's a reason for that. That was the mark that was given to him at the time of his family's death, and he was left to live the remaining days on Earth bearing his shame, because back in the 1800s, that's something that they would do, and it has nothing to do with Satan. And a lot of people think, oh wow, that's satanic. And at first, we had a lot of people, they were saying, oh wow, that's awesome, hail Satan, hail Satan. But no, that's not what that's about. So it's kind of like looking in the book. Don't judge it by just looking at the cover. You got to read the book.
Right.
You have to know that this man, he's not an evil man. He's like an anti-hero. He's kind of like Ash from the Evil Dead series, where he's kind of like a vigilante, but like an anti-hero. But he's not evil.
He's Snake Plissken
at his core. Like Plissken, yeah, he's like a Plissken guy.
It's it's amazing.
Yeah, so I have, as far as the time period, how we came to come to the time period of 1981. That was not my idea. That was the idea of Marcus Johansson, because we were, what we want to continue the story, but hey, what about in the 80s? Bring him back in the 80s, and I thought about it. Ule thought about it, and we're like, that sounds like it could be very interesting. And I originally had ideas for up to 12 albums, representing each hand of on the clock. But I don't know if that will happen. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. All I know is right now we're all enjoying what we do, and we love writing and recording, and we love creating. And there will be people that love it, people that say it's and some people that will hate it. And we just do it. As long as there's some people that buy it, that's cool. And if not, we may still continue to do it. Who knows? We don't know. But we just enjoy what we do, and we become like a family. We are a family. I would just go to Germany just to spend time with my German brothers, and like I had Marcus Johansson. He's come to my house numerous times, just to hang out. So, and he lives in Chicago, and I live in New York. So
nice.
That's the deal.
First of all, I want to tell you, I'm a huge horror fan. I'm a big comic book collector. And this band appeals to me on so many levels. In my personal opinion, and I hope this is a compliment to you, you have put more time and effort into these records than King Diamond has in the later half of his career. I mean, dude, this is very impressive to me. It seriously is. This has been a fantastic interview, too. I'm very excited to check more of this new album out. I'm a fan. Like I said, I stumbled across it, and it kind of just, the interview fell in my lap. It's like it was fate to talk to you. But, dude, I'm telling you, this is goddamn impressive. I think you guys are great.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I'm a big death metal guy, but I grew up, you know, I'm an older guy. I grew up in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. I like my classic metal stuff. This shit's great. And the time and thought process that you just told that you've put into these records, man, I hope you make it to fucking 12 or 13. Do whatever you want. I mean, I think it's fucking great. And like I said, I'm gonna spread the word for it. Seriously, this shit's great, man. I seriously was blown away because when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like these guys are either really into King Diamond or whatever else. But I'm being honest with you. If you want my opinion, and I'm a huge King Diamond fan, but I think there is more thought process and creativity you've put into these records than he has in the later half of his career. On top of the fact, if I can speak to you as me being a journalist and you being a musician, those guys, man, I've dealt with Metal Blade. We've been around, our podcast has been around 7 years, and we can't even get any of those cats to ever do anything with us. You know, so it's like, and we've had fucking Brian Slagle on this podcast, but you know, it's like, oh, you want to talk to any guys from King Diamond? Yeah, you can go fuck yourself. So yeah, it's one of those things, and I still love his music. We're going to go see Merciful Fate, I think, at the end of the month. But the thing about it is this: I love that you have taken something not only from your original stuff. You guys were doing this like a cover band, and then you put this much thought-provoking stuff. I read comics, man. Goddamn, the story for this alone, for these characters, I love it. I mean, it's great.
There will be a graphic novel at one point, and possibly a screenplay written.
Fuck yeah, dude.
You know, when we get closer to that, we get closer.
Seriously, I can't tell you how blown away I am, and I'm happy to get this out there and share, and you know, get it out there as much as I can, because like I said, I'm a huge fan of like traditional metal, power metal, stuff like that, which throws a lot of people off because a lot of our wheelhouse is death metal, but I like to do a lot of different shit, and I'm just a huge fan. I cannot believe that you have put this much time. I mean, do you know how many bands that I talk with, they don't put any time into their lyrics, any kind of a concept? It's impressive to me, man. For what that's worth, I know I'm just some asshole from Florida, but I'm serious. Like, it's impressive.
Thank you so much.
Phantasm.
And you know something? I sort of enjoyed it.
Phantasm.